Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show. A show that's dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So this is our Wednesday night favorites show, which occurs, of course, on Wednesday night every week. This week we're doing a top 10. Sorry, I'm just getting my stack here. A top 10 recently discovered bands. So basically over the last year since I started this show, these bands were discovered by me personally, like my personal discoveries. Not, of course, they're not new bands, so it's not like nobody's discovered them. Other people have listened to them a lot probably over the years. I just had never gotten into them. I disqualified 5 and probably a lot more bands because for them to be recently discovered, I couldn't have owned at least one album in the past from them, and so I had several bands that I disqualified from the list for that reason. Also, there was a couple of other bands who, although I didn't necessarily own an album by them, I had listened to them quite a bit. Either via the radio or at my friend's house or through people I knew or whatever, but so I disqualified them because my familiarity I was too familiar with them to actually consider them a recent discover. So some of the bands that I disqualified, Alice Cooper, I owned Flush the Fashion back in the 80s and I listened to it quite a bit. Oddly enough, I never actually owned another Alice Cooper album after that, which is kind of weird because I really liked that album quite a bit. Just seemed like a natural progression to go back and get his stuff, but just for some reason it never took place. Another band that qualifies that were Leonard Skinner. I had a greatest hits by them. I liked it a lot. I played it a lot, but I never actually went out and bought any of their albums. So I disqualified them for that reason as well. Gentle Giant, same type of thing. I owned 3 Friends. It took a long time to get into that album, but I never went on to buy any other Gentle Giant, but I was familiar with them enough to disqualify them from this list as well. Blue Oyster Cult, exact same thing. Fire of Unknown Origin, I played that a lot. They became actually, based on that one album, they became one of my top 20 bands. And Deep Purple, Perfect Strangers, owned it for a long time and then started playing it about 10 years ago, played it a lot, and then never got anything else, which is kind of strange, but it didn't happen. And the other band, oh my god, I'm telling you, now it's the fire truck. This is the 3rd video I've made of this. First it was the guy vacuuming out in the hallway in the building. Then it was the buzzer on the stove going off, setting everything off, and I had to start again. This is my 3rd try. Fortunately, that wasn't very long. It's like somebody doesn't want me to do this. So anyways, back to what I was talking about. So Thin Lizzy, I disqualified. I've never owned an album by Thin Lizzy, but I've had lots of their stuff on tape. Friend used to make tapes of stuff that he had, and he'd send me over, and there was always lots of Thin Lizzy on there, so I'm really quite familiar with a lot of their stuff, so I disqualified them for the same reason. Okay, so then we're left with about 14 or 15 bands that for me were recently discovered since I've been on this channel. I'd not really listened to them, didn't know much about them, and in some cases I had no knowledge of them and had never listened to them, so I knew nothing about them. So anyways, I put them in an order from 1st to 10th. The 7th through 10th ones could switch around. They're all fairly new bands to me, and at any point in time they could move up quickly. 5 and 6 is a little bit of a transitional period. I've listened to them enough that they're strong enough they could be there, but not strong enough to get higher up, and not and too strong to be lumped in with the other 4. And then the top 4, which were going to be the top 4. But number 1 was going to be number 1, number 2 was going to be number 2, number 3, and number 4, number 4. The far enough apart from each other that they weren't really challenging at this stage to each other. But anyway, so I'll do it as I always do in my normal fashion, which is from the least favorite of the 10 to my most favorite. And then I'll give you some honorable mentions after that. Okay, so the 10th album is, or the 10th group is Kansas. I chose this album because it's the one I own. Leftoverture. Was on my playlist for a while. I like the music quite a bit, but for some reason it was kind of hit and miss with me. And I'll explain that. On the right day, on the right time, listening to it, I really liked it a lot. Other days I didn't like it as much as I thought I did. And it was kind of back and forth that way. So this is a band, of course, that I've known about for decades, but I hadn't listened to really that much by them. Only the two basically radio staples that we hear all the time. So I did qualify them because those are the only two songs that I really knew by them. But there's some good stuff on here, and possibly Kansas has a chance to move up the list with me, but they're coming in at number 10 today. So number 9, I want to make sure I didn't move this around any. No, I did not. Is this album, this group, Vandergraft Generator. I have a couple albums, this one and Pond Life, who I've listened to both about 3 times each. I really have a problem with Peter Hamill's voice on this particular one, and on the other one not as much, but I still have a problem with it. I don't like his voice for some reason. There's something about it, it's irritating. The music's pretty good. See, this is a band that based on what people tell me, I should love this band. They're very progressive. They have some really interesting sounds. They've got some really good albums. Everything, and they're progressive as hell. Everything here should spell success, but it's not really overly selling success enough to make the list. So I put them in at number 9, but not enough to really move them up. And I've had these albums for the full year. It's taking forever to penetrate. The next album, somewhat of the same. Oh, actually, the next group is the only one on this list that I don't have a prop for. I don't have any Sweet albums. That's the band that comes in at number 8. I've listened to them a lot online. People have suggested stuff to listen to. I've watched shows on them. I've watched concerts with them, all kinds of stuff with them over the last year. Also, I did the 3 members who have died. I've done them in my series, so I've become very kind of familiar with them, and so I put them in at number 8, even though I don't have an album. And it's not that I haven't wanted to buy one, but for whatever reason I just haven't come across any that I think are worth buying at the point where there's something else I want instead. So it's just a matter of choices, and I've chosen at this point not to get any. So number 7, Amorphous, Androgynous. Okay, the thing about this is my first Amorphous, Androgynous album, and of course it features my lovely Peter Hamill, who I have a difficulty with. It's not as prevalent on here. They're more instrumental than they are vocal. So the instrumental is good, and it's the album, of course, the album cover is fantastic. The music is quite good. It's taken me some time to penetrate, but it's now, in the last month, I've really started to listen to it more and really like it quite a bit, which has moved them onto this list. If I'd done this a month ago, probably they wouldn't have made the list, but they've been quite good. I like this quite a bit. Amorphous, Androgynous in at number 7. Number 6 and number 5 could have switched around based on the album that's on my playlist, which I don't have here. I'm using the other one for a prop. It knocked the other album down. So Steely Dan comes in at number 6. The album I have is Pretzel Logic. That's the one that I have in my playlist. This one I just got about a month ago. It will probably go in my playlist as soon as there's an opportunity to put it in there. Pretty solid album. Pretty solid group, I mean. it's not like I didn't hear of Steely Dan when I was younger. I heard of them. I actually heard maybe one or two of their songs on the radio, but they were too poppy for me. At that period of time, my music taste was heavier, and so they were just too poppy, and I just never got into them. But now my music tastes have changed, and I like them quite a bit. I'm hoping this album is as good as the one that's in my playlist. The next one is Tea Party. They come in at number 6. I think it's number 5. Sorry, Steely Dan was number 6. Tea Party, number 5. Not this particular album. I've only listened to this once, so it's not really fair to assess it at all. The other one I love it a lot. Play it all the time. It's in the top, battling it out with Jethro Tull for my top spot there. I think the album is almost perfect. The only thing I don't like is that last song has some kind of breaks in it. But as a whole, I really like their overall sound. I did mistakenly put them in my hard rock category of them when I did my top 25 hard rock groups. I put them in there. And now, since I've been listening to it a while, one of the guys one of my subscribers pointed out he didn't think they were hard rock, so I went back and listened to them, and I've been listening to them more over the time, and I think he's probably right. They probably don't qualify to be on there. Maybe it was some of the songs that I liked initially by them were quite heavy, so I may have put them down as a hard rock band, but to be honest, having listened to this once, I don't think they would qualify for that if I was doing it again. Still, I love that Indian sound that they have. I love the guy's vocals. They're fantastic. He so much sounds like Jim Morrison. Just like the whole sound effect by the whole group. There's almost like grungy kind of sound to some of their music too. And I don't really like grunge, but for some reason it goes well with their mix here. Anyways, Tea Party coming in at number 5. Okay, the next 4 were in the positions they were going to be in right off the bat when I started this, but I like all 4 of them a lot, and as I get more into them, they may move around a bit. But for today, number 4 will be Men at Work. This particular album I love. This is fantastic. I've been looking for the other 2 because they did 3 studio albums. I've been trying to get the other 2. They're not easy to find, but this one is just so good. Such a good album. Another band that kind of is like Steely Dan in that a bit poppy for my taste. When I was younger, I wouldn't have gotten into them, which makes perfect sense. But as I'm older, I've mellowed and I've listened to the music more. These are a great band. For me, they may be my second favorite Australian band, right? And I have no problems even saying that. I think they're just great, but I'm looking forward to getting hold of those other 2 albums, and I think that they'll probably be just as good. Well, maybe not just as good as this one, but definitely will qualify to be good albums. So Men at Work come in at number 4. Number 3 is a German band, progressive band, which, this Eloy, I chose this one. I have others too, but this was the first one I listened to. I liked it quite a bit. They're such a colorful band. Like, all of their cover albums are so bright and colorful. There's uplifting albums. Music is really progressive, really good. Almost a Floydish sound to them in some of their stuff. The only negative part about them is their vocalist. He's not bad on this particular album, but some of the other albums he's just a little bit much to take. I hate to say this, but every time I hear him, it just reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger, which doesn't really bode well for music. But I'm grown used to him. Frank he's consistently on all their albums, and you get a bit used to him after a while. But I've got 3 or 4 of them now. I really like the band quite a bit. The one that I'm listening to right now, I think, is Dawn. Yeah, Dawn, and I like that. That album's growing on me a lot. So Eloy comes in at number 3. So number 2, chose this album. The other one is currently on my playlist, so I didn't want to bring it in. King Crimson. funny, many of you who've watched my videos know the story of King Crimson. For me, I've been people trying to push them on me for years, and I always kept saying I'll get some. I would go to the store sometime with the intent that I would buy one of their albums or something, and I always got something else. They just either because they didn't have what I was looking for, or they were too expensive, or the other album was new from the other group, and I just, you know how it is, you get there and there's an album out from a group that you really like versus an album from a group that you don't even know anything about. Sometimes you're not going to get to this. So that happened a few times with them. And eventually I just ordered this online and had it sent to me. And so this particular album is fantastic. I love it. It put them on the map for me. 40 years in the making, but I never actually had listened to any of their music other than the one song that April Wine covered, 21st Century Schizoid Man, which is also on here. But so that's it. That was my only knowledge of King Crimson, other than that Bill Bruford joined them. So anyway, so I've been moving up. I've been listening to the second album now. This is their first one, and I'm really liking it quite a bit too. So they are currently sitting at number 2 of the new bands on my recently discovered top 10. So who's number 1 on my recently discovered top 10? Well, anybody who follows this show regularly will know that it's almost certainly going to be the band that I'm going to show you, and they won't be really that surprised. And then we're talking about Nectar. Now, I've got this particular album because the other one is way up at the top there and I can't reach it. And the other one that I have is on the playlist right now. And so I haven't gotten into this one yet. I haven't listened. This is a more recent album of theirs. Their album covers are all like this, fantastic, really spacey, really good instrumental band. I love the drummer. I love the guitar player. I love the keyboards are really good on this as well. Not for this particular album, but by them in general. I like that first album that I got, Tab in the Ocean, quite a bit. It's become one of my favorite new albums, and it's now past a year, so it automatically gets the 1 rating, and when it passes 4 years, we'll see, but I'm pretty sure it's going to end up as a master album. It'll be the first of theirs. I'm looking forward to getting more stuff by them, and I love this band quite a bit. Very, very much right up my alley. The funniest part is they don't really sound like anybody else. I don't really think they don't have any Genesis sound to them. They're not really Yesy. I guess Yes might be the closest to it, but not really. They don't really sound like that either. They're heavier, like Rush is, but don't sound anything like Rush. Just such a good group and some really good stuff. So there you have it, my top 10 recently discovered groups over the last year since this channel opened. I hope that you enjoyed this particular episode. I will give you now my 10 over again from top to bottom, as I always do, and then give you my my honorable mentions. So again, it's Nectar in at number 1, King Crimson number 2, Eloy at number 3, Men at Work from number 4, the first non-progressive band, Tea Party number 5, Steely Dan at number 6, and Amorphous Androgynous at number 7, Vandergraaf Generator at, The Sweet at number 8, Vandergraaf Generator at number 9, and then Kansas at number 10. So, and then some of the honorable mentions, Stampeders. I've known about the Stampeders. I've heard some of their songs over the years, but I never really listened to them much. I've only recently started listening to them more and realized that they have a lot of good stuff. So I've been getting into them a little more. ELP, I have an album by them. It's the first one I've owned, although I do know quite a bit of their stuff from the past as far as radio stuff. Like but I don't know a lot of their stuff. I never really wanted to get into for some reason, a band without a guitar dominated just didn't sit with me. But they do have a guitarist. It's not much different than Genesis. They have their bass player also plays guitar. They have a keyboardist and they have a drummer. It's the same kind of a setup, only in the case of ELP, it's the bass player who sings and not the drummer. The other band, Soundgarden, I got one album from them and I liked it quite a bit, even though they're a grunge band. I don't think they sound too grungy, and then they have this other album that I haven't had a chance to listen to, so we'll be giving them a little more attention as well. And then recently been listening to some Atomic Rooster, who I wanted to mention because I think this band has potential to be a really strong band for me as well. And there's a bunch of other stuff, of course, that's coming around the corner. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Wednesday Night Favorites, my top 10 favorite recently discovered personal groups to myself. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. We'll be doing some more of these top 10 stuff over the next few weeks. I've been thinking about doing another ranking too. I've only got the 2 rankings really. My Rush ranking, because I own everything by Rush pretty much, and my Van Halen ranking, which is only a partial ranking because it's only the David Lee Roth stuff from the early albums. I only have the 6th and the first album by Sammy. So now I'm thinking about doing another ranking, and that group will probably be Led Zeppelin. I own all the Zeppelin stuff now, so I'm just thinking that maybe I might listen to be honest with you, I've listened to all their albums for a long time. The only one I hadn't listened to was Physical Graffiti, which I now own, and I've been playing it, and it's going to go on my playlist at some point. So I may give it some time on the playlist to see how it might affect the rankings. So other than that, it's been a fun show to do. I like doing the rankings ones. Really makes me think about the whole catalog, and I tend to be a little bit different than some people do. Their favorite groups tend to be the ones with the, how do you say it, really good catalogs. Not necessarily true with me. It's true, I guess, to an extent with the top groups, but some of the other groups I rank them fairly high, and it has really not much to do with all their albums, because like in the case of Van Halen, I really like Van Halen a lot, but if I was going to rank them based on the albums, their entire album catalog, well, their first 6 albums would all be up here, and their next ones would all be down here, and would bring the group right down. And I don't really operate that way. I just like Van Halen. Okay, so anyways, that's enough of my wandering off topic here. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Top 10 Favorite Recently Discovered Bands, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for Friday night live experience, which will come up this Friday, and we got another live experience for you. So there you go. Please like, subscribe, and have a good evening. Frog Monster out.